And here the people of God began to grow. And they were traveling, looking for a land. Genesis chapter 11, we are going to, this is the story of Babel. And we know, and there it is, all of the family that came from Noah, his sons and his grandsons, and they began to grow and form the people of God. And these people in that time were traveling and looking for a land that they could call their own. And they found a place, an area, and they said to themselves, united, let us build a great city with a great tower so that we will make a name for ourselves that cannot be moved. And it captured the attention of who? Of God. And God saw what they were doing, that they were united together. And I would like to read for you in verse number 6, Genesis chapter 11, verse 6. And it says like this, for the honor and the glory of the Lord. And starting in verse 5, it says, and the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, behold, they are of one people, and they have the same language. And this is what they began to do. And now nothing which they propose to do will be impossible for them. Glory be to the name of the Lord. May this have been for the honor and the glory of the Lord. Go ahead and take your seats, brothers, and we will continue our conversation. What do we see? What do we see in this example? Are you with me, brothers? What do we see? What did the Lord see? What? Unity. He saw unity. They were all together with one purpose. After the day of Pentecost, that same unity came into play. As it said, all of those that were believers were baptized, and they all were of the same mind and of the same desires. And they began to help each other, and they began to sell their possession. And it said, amongst those believers, there was no necessity. Why? Why were they going through this? Because they were, what did the sister say? They were united. And they helped each other. Now the Lord saw when those people were united, and we can use and we know why He changed their language, and they began to spread throughout the world and occupy different places, and that's why there's different languages around. But let us, as the apostle of God said on New Year's Eve, let us not look at this in a material way, but let us look at this in a spiritual way. They were united together. They spoke one language, which means they were able to communicate with each other. When your minister speaks a different language than you do. So does that mean we cannot be united? No, because we're not looking at this in a material way. We're looking at this in a spiritual way. Do we have one common desire? Are all of us looking for one thing? Or are the brothers looking for one thing and the sisters are looking for another, and the choir has another destiny and the minister is going to have a different desire? No, we are not divided when it comes to what we are striving for. We are all striving for one thing, and that is our salvation. Amen? But what the Apostle of God is trying to do is this spiritual sense that we have as we are united together in this spiritual way, striving for that one goal. He wants us also to be able to be united in the same way, but in the material sense. That we strive even materially so that we can obtain this goal of what is the desire of the Apostle of God, for us to be self-sufficient. I don't think that it was in the transmission of last week. Maybe it'll be this week, because we know the Apostle of God said he's going to continue his conversation about this topic today in that place where he is in Mexico. But I know that when the Apostle of God got up on May the 8th and spoke to the ministers, he spoke with such a jealousy. Not jealous because he's jealous of the world, no, but a jealousy for the people of God. And I told this testimony on Thursday, but many of you weren't here, so I'm going to tell you again what it was that brought this to such a great attention to the Apostle of the Lord. Last February was the first February of the ministry of Naason Joaquin Garcia. And what is it that we normally did before in the ministry of the Apostle Samuel in February? We would have a great festivity. And many of the brothers would go to that place, and it would be a great festivity. We would go there, we would buy products, we would buy food, we would fix our house, we would spend a lot of money. Last year in August, I got to go and meet with the governor of Guadalajara, and he gave me a gift to bring back to the Apostle of God because of the great revenue, the great money that the people of God bring during the festivities. And now that area in Guadalajara, where the beautiful province is much nicer and safer and more attractive than it used to be because of what we bring there in a material sense. Well, the first February of the ministry of the Apostle Naason Joaquin Garcia, we did not have a festivity there in Guadalajara. We had individual Holy Suppers in our places, and I believe you went to San Francisco? Fresno. But we didn't go to Guadalajara. The Apostle God celebrated in Chile. He was there in Chile or Colombia, I'm not sure. But he was outside of Guadalajara. When he returned from that tour, he returned to Guadalajara, and we remember the transmission when he returned. The brothers were rejoicing and had a lot of happiness. And what do you think that the Apostle God found when he returned? All of the businesses of the Gentiles in that area who had prepared themselves for the brothers to come for the festivity in February, they had prepared a lawsuit to sue the church because they canceled the festivities. And we didn't come to spend our money with those Gentiles. They bought products, they bought food, they bought hardware, their stores were filled to capacity so that we would come and spend our money. But the brothers didn't come. So when the Apostle of the Lord came back, he found out that all of those businesses got together and they're going to sue the church for loss of revenue. And the Apostle of God began to think, and he said, no more. No more are we going to give our money to these people who do not share our same faith. This money that we give to them is going to be used for what? For drinking, for parties, for idolatry, for many different things. We work so hard for our money, and I'm speaking of you, my brothers and sisters, who work with the sweat of your brow and the pain in your hands and your knees and your back, and you work for a little bit of money, but you sacrifice so much, and then we go and we give it back to the world so it can be used for ungodly things. And this moved the Apostle of God into the topic that we're speaking about in these last weeks. And he addressed himself to the brothers in the ministerial body with such jealousy. He said, no more. No more. We need to be self-sufficient. We need to support our brothers. We need to, if there is a brother that has a store, we need to go and buy from that brother. If there is a brother that has a service, we need to hire that brother. If there is a sister that can provide something of my necessity, I'm going to buy from her. Don't worry about the price. Don't worry about whether I like this sister or don't like that sister or this brother is nice to me or not. The money that we spend to prosper the brother's business is also with gratitude given into the arts and back to God. Sometimes when we get a bonus or a big check or our tax return, we say, glory be to the name of the Lord. I'm going to give to God what is due to God. And as that brother's business grows, he gives thanks to the Lord. And he makes his offering. He supports the projects of the apostle. But if they struggle, if they have no money, if they lose their esteem, how can they help? This is where the apostle is thinking. And for us, we need to be like this story about the people of Babel. Yes, God changed their language and scattered them, not because he was angry with them. Brothers, this story has been told in a false way, that God was offended and the people of Babel were going to try to reach the heavens and find God, and that's not why. That's not the story. The story is they were going to make a great city so that they could make a name for themselves. And God came and he saw their unity and their communication, and he said anything that they desire to do, they will be able to accomplish because they were unified. Amen? In 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 31. It says, for the honor and the glory of the Lord. The Apostle Paul is talking about gifts, and he said, seek the greater gifts, and I will show you a more excellent way. What was he talking about? Well, he was talking about prophecy, and he was talking about reading tongues, and I'm going to tell you, brothers, I hope you're paying attention. Seek these gifts that the Lord is putting in our pathway. The apostle of God told the ministers, and he also mentioned in the transmission last week, that the Lord is putting in our pathway the tools for prosperity. What's the promise of God for the church? It's going to grow. It's going to prosper. Is God going to leave us alone and watch us struggle to try to prosper? No. The apostle of God is saying that the Lord is putting in our pathway what we need, the tools to prosper. What are those tools? It's the teachings of the apostle of God. He is teaching us. He is showing us. Do it like this. Support your brother. Support your sister. There are businesses that even the church owns. And it's kind of awkward for me to talk about this here in Visalia because there's only 2 or 3 families that can go to Guadalajara. But when we go to that place, now the church owns their own hardware store. And I went and I did a little interview in that place, and it has everything that you would ever need to fix your house or that you would buy in a hardware store. Why would the apostle do this? Why not just let us buy from the Gentiles? Because the money that we spend stays within the church. That hardware store is owned by the church, and it is ran by a commission that belongs to the church. And that money is then turned to support the church, the growth and the projects of the apostle of God. We own now our own markets. Serepta is a market. Now there is 4 locations throughout the beautiful province, throughout Patel, and throughout Maestro Naason Joaquin. So I need milk, I need eggs, I need beans, whatever I need. There it is, and I spend my money. And where does the money go? To idolatry? To drinking? To drugs? No. It goes back into the church to support the construction, to support the growth, to support whatever necessities come through the promise of God. I will grow this church larger than you can imagine.